allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome to tonight's planning board meeting. Please be aware of the fire exits. In the event of an emergency, please move in a calm and orderly fashion down the stairs, and please do not use the elevator. The meeting notes are taken by the secretary for the purpose of a record in minutes, so please identify yourself each time you come to the podium, and please speak into the microphone. The meeting minutes are not intended to be a verbatim record, but only to indicate the sum and substance of the proceedings. The meeting workshop is being recorded by our ICAT department and broadcast on Spectrum Channel 1303. The board will follow the items in the order they appear on the agenda, with copies of the agenda near the door. After the case has been called, the applicant and/or agent shall come to the podium to present their case. During this time, the planning board members will have the opportunity to question and comment on the case. For public hearing cases, the chairman will open the case for public input, in which anyone wishing to speak regarding the case will come to the podium, state your name and address, and direct their comments to the board and only the board. Once all public input has been received, the applicant and/or agent will be given the opportunity to respond to the public input. Once all public input has been completed, the chairman will close public input and the board will then move on to a decision. No further input is allowed at that point. Please call the first case on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First case on the agenda is case number PB 2024-03-01, request by Costage Engineering acting as agent for Summer Villas on 3rd LLC for a special use permit for the construction of 10 townhouse units per town code subsection 235-90B1B on premises 91 Lakefront in the WD Waterfront Development District.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Mark Costage of Costage Engineering. With me tonight is Steve Labazetta, who is the property owner and the developer of the project. We're here tonight to have a review of the special permit process, which is one step of several that we'll be going through. We previously came before the town board and obtained a rezoning of the property to waterfront development, which allows for the proposed use that we are before you tonight with. The project is about 1.2 acres, and we are proposing for 10 residential townhouse, luxury townhouse type units. They would be on 5 buildings, and they would be 2 units per building. We are proposing parking, stormwater, landscape, connection to all necessary utilities, and we would also have involved in the project public access along the driveway that has been requested through the rezoning process and is part of your master plan and comprehensive plan as something you want to see. So again, we are here for special permit. We will be coming back to this board for site plan, so I don't plan on getting into the detail of the site, more the issues associated with special permit. And I would like to just go over my letter of intent, which I think kind of outlines the criteria that you're looking for in this special permit process. So again, I'm here representing Steve Labazetta, and the property is located at the northeast side of what was 3rd Street, and it runs from 3rd Street down to the lake. As part of the special use permit process, the board must review the site review the plan and find it consistent with a set of standards for special use permit as follows. The site has existing access through 3rd Street right-of-way drive and will use that. Potable water, sanitary sewers exist adjacent or on the site. Refuse disposal will be via a variety of commercial carriers. The proposed development is compatible and will enhance the natural features of the site and surrounding area. The site development has been kept away from the shoreline to maintain the natural setting. The development will buffer the garages to the west, which are very linear and lack character. The development will include fire protection as required by the town, including fire hydrants, fire lanes, and turnarounds. The development will relate to the lake by maintaining natural beach and living units and pavements pulled away from the water. The proposed development of townhouses will relate to the existing land use and zoning. To the west, development is high-density, multifamily housing. That density is about approximately 24 units per acre. We are at about 8.5. The existing development includes garage structures at the property line with little architectural interest. To the east, the residential use is of vacant land. Townhouse development will transition from high-density to multifamily to lower-density single-family residential. The townhouse development will comply with, to the greatest extent possible, the site design criteria and the zoning district requirements. The project will meet the majority of the bulk requirements. Any deviation from requirements will be pursued by submission to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The proposed luxury townhomes will include pedestrian public access. The intent is to allow safe, secure public access to the local community by foot traffic only. No drop-off, parking, or overall community access is proposed or encouraged. Low-key, unadvertised access is envisioned that will be of low impact to the residents of this project and surrounding. The luxury townhouse project will be consistent with town plans and zoning. The property was designed to be developed multifamily back when multifamily was developed to the east. The project will not result in similar development to the east of these properties that are not zoned for townhouse development, and there are deed restrictions from the research we've done on properties to the east that would prohibit continuing this type of development. The luxury townhouse project will not produce noise, dust, glare, odor, refuse, fumes, vibrations, unsightliness, contamination, fire, explosions, electricity, radiation, crowds, traffic, congestion, excessive parking, or similar conditions. The traffic generation from about 10 units is low when compared to the existing traffic in the area. Actually, looking at ITE standards, the multifamily traffic generation is about 0.44 trips per unit per peak hour. So that would be at the peak of hour in the morning or the peak hour in the evening. So it's about 0.44. So with 10 units, you have about 4.4 cars being generated in that peak hour, or about one car every 15 minutes. The luxury townhouse project will not cause harm to existing features. The project will comply with town and FEMA flood requirements. Plans do include erosion and sediment control. Water quality will be treated using best management practices, including vegetated swales, rain gardens, and landscape. Existing vegetation will be disturbed or removed as needed and consist of lower quality softwoods. Revegetation will be in the form of landscape, lawns, and rain gardens. The development will be consistent with the town planning documents that call for multi-family development in this area. That's both the comprehensive master plan and the LWRP. The luxury townhouse project is transitional from that higher density to the west. Then we are lower density multifamily to then single family and vacant. The proposed development will be consistent with the goals of the LWRP. No historic or cultural resources are to be impacted. No dredging, filling, or disturbance of Lake Ontario will result from the development of these luxury townhomes. So that is kind of in response to your criteria for the special use permit. We followed exactly the criteria that is outlined by the town. And I guess with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions.
Any of the board members have questions? Does not appear any at this time.
All right.
Anything from the staff before I open it up for the public hearing? Okay. With that, please take a seat. I'd like to open this up for the public hearing. Anybody who would like to address the town board, just please come to the podium, state your name and address, and direct your questions to the board and only to the board.
My name is Rose Novak, 305 Westage at the Harbor. I'm president of the board over at Westage at the Harbor. My concern is 3rd Street. I heard something that I'm not sure of. The 3rd Street was involved in the rezoning of the property so that they could be built. Because 3rd Street, far as I know, was abandoned by the town in '93 and was separated to several different owners, including Westage at the Harbor. So there's multiple owners of 3rd Street. Westage at the Harbor has been maintaining 3rd Street for over 20 years. I don't know how you think that 3rd Street could be an access point, and nor can construction vehicles. 3rd Street is a driveway, it's not a street anymore, it's been abandoned. So my question is, was that rezoned, and how come we don't know that? And another question is, you said something about multiple dwellings, then single dwellings afterwards. So is there an expansion after the 10 units, after the condos? Are they planning on doing multiple dwellings behind that? If that's the case, we know nothing about that. So I need to know what 3rd Street is designated. I have a map here. In 2016, the town was required, and Monroe County was required, to get an easement from all of the owners to access the sewer lines. So we all had to sign. So I don't know that we're not owners anymore, and if that's the case, I need to know that.
Okay, we don't normally answer questions, but we'll take your questions, and at the end, we'll come back and try to get them addressed either by the applicant or the town. But just once again, you said 3rd Street. What was the second concern?
The possibility of, they were saying 10 condos,
Okay.
and then I heard something about single dwelling units after that. So is that proposed also? So is it going to continue to grow? And 3rd Street is a difficult street to come in and out of as it is now. You add more traffic to that. I just don't know how that's going to work.
Okay.
So that's my major concern.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address the board? Take your time.
My name is Jürgen Grants. I live at 139 Lakefront, and that is since 1979. That's 45 years altogether, so I know what's going on in this area. So I'm for the construction of the townhouses, the villas, because it's about time it gets into the controlled hands. You know, during the summertime, anybody is going down there. You have fire pits, you have liquor bottles and debris and garbage. So it's about time it gets into controlled hands. And that's the only one in this whole area, the Somerville area, Beatree Beach, and so on. It's not controlled by anybody. So please start. The sooner the better. Congratulations.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address the board? You can just line up if you'd like to make it go.
Hi, my name is Katie Ferruza. I'm a resident of 119 Lakefront, so just 3 houses down from where this proposed project is. Like Jurgen, I've lived in this area for my whole life, about 40 years, so also very familiar with some of the challenges of this area. I just wanted to bring up some questions, and I don't know if they've been addressed in previous meetings, but one is, with the addition of this many units, that's obviously a great deal of people that would be down there in a very small amount of lakefront beach area. As Jurgen mentioned, we already have a lot of issues down there with people partying, late at night, bonfires at the beach, things like that. It's definitely a concern of mine with adding that many units, like what that would be for a very small area of beach, and what that means in terms of just public access, to walk down the beach, to walk to the beach, things like that. I'm also concerned if these would be, I know Westage, well, I shouldn't say I know, I'm pretty sure Westage, you're not allowed to use them as Airbnbs or rental units. That would just be a question/concern of mine, if these were allowed to be Airbnb kind of units. That would essentially become a hotel, so to speak, or something to that effect, which would definitely be of a concern to those of us who live down there. I don't know if that's in the plan proposal, but I do want to bring that up as a concern, and I would be against this project if that was the case. Yeah, I think the other thing is we obviously, for those of us who live down here, we've had a lot of issues, as I'm sure the town knows, with high water and flooding. So with the proposal of these units, I would just want to know, for those of us who live to the east of it, how we would be protected from any drainage, runoff, sewage, things like that, because we already are in a very, very low area. And if this were to be built and it was, my understanding is, they would be raised a bit and fill would be brought in, that we would not have repercussions for those of us to the east of it. As was mentioned, I think, by the other individual who came up, all of this area in front of Lakefront has been in our deeds for many, many years that it's unbuildable, meaning we're not even allowed to have a shed out there, nothing. So this is a big change to this area for us. So I'm not necessarily fully against this project, but I do have quite a few concerns, particularly if this was to become more of an Airbnb or if there were short-term rentals allowed, and some of the other concerns that I brought up about, just how many people would be in that area and what that would mean for things happening in that area and at the beach. So I think that's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address?
Hi, I'm Michelle Romer. I've lived in Arundecoit all my life. Bernie knows.
I'm sorry, Michelle, I didn't mean to interrupt. Your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, 1407 Westage.
Thank you.
Yes, I used to live on Rock Beach. I have major concerns with this proposal. First of all, green space in Arundecoit, almost gone. There's a little tiny area right there where that's green space, and I love that little plot. That would take that all away. We have a lot of wildlife that comes through down there. We do have a lot of flooding that occurs in that area, especially around the circle. So that's a real concern for me. I hate to say this, but the traffic generation made me just about laugh out loud, because where I live in Westage, I am right on the Coast Guard side at the very last unit, and so I'm on the parking lot at just about eye level. The traffic that comes through Westage that does not belong at Westage is really, really incredible. It just drive-throughs, rubberneckers, whatever. I don't blame them. It's a beautiful area, but it does pose a lot of challenges for us. We love fireworks. We like the beach. We love the water, but it is our area down there, and we can't invite everybody in. We don't have that capacity. I see 10 units, particularly in a multi-family unit, or multi-generational. I was thinking these places would be probably 2 occupants at best per unit, but bringing that amount of traffic in, those amounts of people, plus any visitors that they have, because we also have visitors that come down. I mean, I just don't see that as a flow, and that statement really made me laugh. I hate to be rude, but I am my father's daughter. And the other thing I want to say is, when you come into somebody's kitchen, you don't criticize the cook before you even know anything. And when you come in and talk about those very unattractive little garages, we like those little garages a lot. They are garages where we store our things. They are garages where we have cookouts. They mean a lot to us. And I'm not getting emotional, I'm just getting very angry. So I will step down now. I really do not approve of this idea at all.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Any,
Thank you for the opportunity.
you're welcome. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Anita O'Brien. I'm at 872 Washington Avenue. I want to echo a few of the things that I've heard. I'll start with the environmental concerns that I have around that location. As she mentioned, it is a refuge of sorts to wildlife because of the open extents in front of all of those other northern lots to the east of this area. I have recorded many bald eagles that land there and stay there and fish from there. It is adjacent to the river. This is one of their stop points along the river. I don't know if any environmental studies have been done around some of the animals that use this habitat. Whatever type of tree that they are one of the few stands of big trees like that we do have in the area. I think it's a very important piece to consider in the removal that would be required for this particular area, even considering that access way down to the beach. So if they're intending for those 40-something people, I don't know how many will be in each unit, accessing that beach down there, that wood goes all the way to the beachfront property. That is where it extends to. So is it going to be a nice little meandering path through the woods, or are they going to clear access to the beach as well, which then raises the concerns that were also presented around the other environmental issues of flooding if we take out that natural grounding process that the roots engage when they're protecting us from that kind of piece. So I think there are some crucial elements there that I'd like to hear some answers on. Beautification of the land around the building and the dwelling, great, but we're also removing a lot of very useful, functional pieces of forest there. I think that the access point in terms of people using that beach and the things that they tend to do on that beach, just as a resident with deed rights to the beach. There are many different aspects there. I don't think that the addition of this unit is going to solve those. I lean more towards what we're hearing of bringing extra traffic down with a specific invitation to buy your luxury condo at the beach. I think that that corner of the beach section could actually use a little help, just in general environmental pieces. I hope that whoever buys, if this goes through, that they're looking at the quality of the water in that corner there by the wall. And the concerns around that I think for me, when I look at Westage and then I look at luxury homes being inserted in the middle and then the single family units that are there, my concern is the optics of the joy of bringing in the word luxury, which equates to money, and then not being responsive to the residents who have been there in the single family dwellings all of their lives. I think that if you're following what I'm getting at, it's a sense of uplifting the community, and yet are we also going to set into precedent, into motion, something that moves people out as they move further to the east. And I think I've heard that in some of the residents talking tonight, that there's a fear that this encroaches and continues. I know that one element that was brought to my attention was whether or not this project goes over the line there, the north-facing property line, and I don't know enough to know if that was already addressed through some other permit resolution, but I would want to make sure that it is not right up to and encroaching on that line that might further the next wave down the line saying, well, let's just go ahead and do away with the walkway, let's do away with that deed, and just say that we can say no to the deed that's been historically in process. So there's a little bit of fear of going too far that comes with this particular project, because it's not what has been in that area, and it raises these other concerns. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Can I just add, Bernie?
First off, we normally don't allow anybody to come back up until we make sure everybody's had a chance. Anybody else who would like to address?
Hey, Dave Griffo. I've worked at Westage for 30 years. And I've known Steve for about 20, if not 30 years also.
I'm sorry,
Address?
Dave.
Address?
I'm the supervisor at Westage. I live at 5930 East River Road. I don't live there.
I'm sorry, 59.
30 East River Road.
Thank you.
It's out in West Henrietta. Sorry. Some concerns that I have is obviously, I've been doing the maintenance on 3rd Street for over 26 years. I've not seen anybody from the adjacent properties talk to me or ask me for help or money or salt, nothing. So that's been taken care of by Westage and Westage only. Another concern I have is stormwater, where the stormwater is going to go, the sewer. If you're adding more sewer on, the town already has a pumping station there. Pumping station is undersized of what I was told about 3 years ago. The town was supposed to upgrade those and build those bigger when Bob Kiley was in this office here. I haven't seen that happen. I don't know it has. I got questions to see if that has happened, because that's a big impact on that little pumping station in Van Leer. But other than that, I know, the construction, the noise, the building, it's going to hinder a lot of lives at Westage and disrupt that. The bald eagles are there. They are beautiful. I've never seen one before, in the wild, other than working there and seeing them there. So I don't know if you guys had talked about an environmental impact study at the last meeting you had a couple years ago when this was brought up. I don't know if that was done, or maybe I didn't get that right. I don't know, but you can let me know that, or let Rosie know that. But so I don't know. I just like the lady said before me. I think everything is going to be jammed together. And as a maintenance standpoint, I'd like to know who's going to take care of all of 3rd Street, or is 3rd Street, what's going to happen with it? Is it going to get separated, or something's got to happen with that. I mean, Westage owns half the street, and they've been taking care of it for as long as I've been there, which is about 26 years. So just kind of seems like not a good fit. I haven't even seen the drawing yet, but, the flooding was a big impact back there. So I don't know if they're on slab, or if you're going up in the air, or you dig 15 feet in the ground, you're in the river. So it'd be nice to know how it's going to be built. But that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address? Anybody who would like to come back up?
Steve got the environmental piece of it.
You got to talk at the microphone.
I sound terrible on a microphone. Dave got the environmental piece. The thing is, that is not a really stable area
Michelle?
right there. Yes.
I'm sorry, name and address again for the record if you're speaking for public input.
1407 Westage.
Thank you.
Yes, Michelle Romer, R-O-E-M-E-R. That is not a real stable area there as far as soil. I guess you would say soil, but I would call it sand in general, because my neighbor, Henry, who lives above me, and I have both experienced, and he's at one end of the building and I'm at the other end of the building, one terribly windy day this year and terribly windy day last year, when both of our floors just went ooh like that. I mean, it was like a wave. And Chrissy texted me and she said, "Did your floor just move?" And I said, "Oh my God, I thought it was me." And I was sitting there and she said, "No." She said, "That was really odd." And so, that brings like a whole new thing to as a question, but I feel if there hasn't been an environmental study done, that's key in that area. That's real key. And just the migrating birds, I mean. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you
And
again.
I apologize for causing chaos.
Anybody else who would like to address the board? Take your time.
Hi, I'm Nancy Griffin, 15 2nd Street. And I don't know I haven't seen the drawings, but it seems to me that that's an awful small space to be putting 10 units in. And I think it would just be a crowded mess, which would take away from the whole neighborhood. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address the board? Going once, going twice, so I'm going to close the public hearing. Would the applicant like to address any of the comments, please?
We appreciate all the comments. Again, we will be back for site plan, which will be much more in-depth on the architectural, on the landscape, on the lighting, and all those items, and drainage. But I certainly would like to respond to some of the issues that were brought forth for the audience's sake. They came here, so I think I should. So, 3rd Street, there is no rezoning of the streets. It's just a parcel that's rezoned, so I had no intention of implying that we rezone the street, nor any other parcels. We would not be expanding. We don't control any other property. This is it. This is one phase, and it's all there is. The driveway is an abandoned right-of-way. That is correct. The applicant has a right to use the road, as does Westage. The applicant has approached Westage for a proposed maintenance agreement to work with Westage on a maintenance agreement that would share cost and share responsibility. At this point in time, Westage has not responded in desiring of that, but it will be open. The traffic, what I was explaining to you was a traffic generation that's using the Institute of Traffic Engineers data. They look at many, many sites around the country. They put it in a big book, and it's utilized by engineers all over the country to generate the amount of traffic you will see from a development. We're not talking about the neighboring development. We're talking about what we're generating. And that number was about 4.5 cars per peak hour. The peak hour probably is in the order of 7 to 8 in the morning, or 7:30 to 8:30, but it's an hour's time frame. So that peak hour, we're generating roughly 1 car per every 15 minutes. It's a very, very low traffic generation. The people, or the market that this is intended for is not necessarily senior, but empty nesters. 2 people is what we envision in these homes. Potentially, they would have children that would come and stay with them at times, but it's not intended to be a family rental situation. We're really thinking of people that are snowbirds that go away in the winter and come back in the summer and want a very nice place to stay. There was questions with regards to construction, not controlled. Those were positive comments that basically The individual was concerned about the amount of people that access the site now, and we do intend, to have a more controlled situation to limit the people, and certainly if people are drinking and partying, there's going to be less of that, because I think our neighborhood will be asking the town for assistance in stopping trespassing of that type. There are lots of people. It's been talked about bonfires. There was discussion from some that we have many units. We have 10 units. We envision that to be on the order of an average of 2.5 people per unit. Public access, again, is in the master plan. It's what was desired by the town board. It's not necessarily what we desire. We're not pushing it, but we realize that the town and the master plan calls for public access, so we are complying with that. We do not have any intention for Airbnb, B&B. These are long-term rentals. It's not going to be in a furnished apartment where you can come and stay. You move in, you're there for the, hopefully a long, long time.
So they're not owned?
Please, you can't speak, please. Sorry.
Flooding and drainage, we do intend to lift the buildings up to meet the code and meet FEMA requirements. Drainage will be infiltration, so we intend to put the water back into the ground to recharge the water table. We don't intend to run off to neighbors, so we'll have an infiltration type system. We will also have rain gardens and other water quality features that will take any runoff that comes from paved areas that would have, potential sediments, and be treating that. Green space, we will be decreasing the green space. The code has requirements for the amount of impervious area that can be done with the development of this nature, and within the waterfront development, we will be complying with those. We want to keep it as green as we can. We will be looking at potentially some pervious pavements and things of that nature that decrease the amount of impervious area. Wildlife's been brought up. The only wildlife that comes up in our environmental looks has been lake sturgeon. We don't intend to do anything in the water. I have worked on developments where there have been bald eagles on the lakefront, and they've been called out in the environmental from DEC, and we've had to work around those. If there's any concern from DEC, we will comply with that, but it has not been brought up in the environmental. There was talk of our number of units. Westage is 162 units, so that's, about 16 times as much. The garages I brought up only because they're right on the property line, so they're very much right at this property, and there's one straight line, and while they may be very useful, I'm sure, to the neighbors, on our side, they're not anything to write home about. They're just very, very straight, and we, are going to put our garages towards them so that it's kind of going to be more of a place where vehicles are, and just as they've done over at Westage. But ours won't be on the property line. Ours will be built into the units. Literally, the overhangs are over this property. Trees will be removed, no question about it. That's part of development. The trees on the site, there are some larger trees, but they are all softwoods. The condition is questionable, and they will probably not be surviving. We do intend to have a fairly large, well-established landscape plan and green space and pervious pavements and hardscape. We don't intend to move any people out of the area. There's no future development to this project. It is strictly this project, what you see, one phase. We are complying with the walkway. We are proposing to maintain walkway east-west, as well as provide public access, limited public access with regards to no vehicles, but pedestrian from north-south. Again, maintenance, we talked about, we are willing to work with Westage. Storm and septic, we will be working with the town engineer. Again, our septic or our sewage generation is very low, given the low population. We will be building everything to New York State Building Code. There won't be any moving of buildings. And I guess that's about it.
Could you comment, somebody made comments about the effect on the beachfront. Can you talk to what you're doing there at all, or how far back?
We're going to be,
Do you have a microphone for him, Michelle? Hold on one second, because do we have a portable microphone? Oh, we don't? Okay. So
I can turn it,
Thank
if
you.
that's okay.
Thought you were getting out a slide ruler for a second.
So the buildings will be approximately 100 feet back from the shoreline. The pavement's about 60 feet. I just want to measure one other thing. And our buildings will be back approximately 130 feet further to the south than Westage garages. So we're quite a ways away from the shoreline, and that's intentional.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the other board members? Sure, go ahead.
I'm looking at the proposed 10 units and that the allowed units on density are 8.5, so you will be applying for a variance for this?
That is correct.
Based on that, if you were not to get that variance, would you proceed with an 8 unit?
All our projections have been done on 10 units, and, we would have to evaluate what we would be doing. We've worked on 10 units based upon our look at the site to be multifamily. The board or the staff looked at the site, and, you can look at the code as townhouses. There's a few words that make it look like townhouse, which is a density that is lower than multifamily. The multifamily would allow more than 10 units. But, our key is that the definition of multifamily involves one parcel, and that's what we have. Townhouses are typically units for sale. So I guess where I'm going with that is, I think even staff kind of recognized that it could look either way and encouraged us to agree with the townhouse and then seek the variance. So I guess the answer is that I don't have the answer of what exactly we would do, but we are looking for 10 units.
Any other questions?
So
Mrs. Hurd?
I'm sorry, the special use permit for today is for townhouses, correct? I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I want to, and this may be a question for the attorney, but it's presented to us that we're approving 10 townhouses tonight.
Yeah, so with what I might suggest that the planning board do, and this is typical of other planning boards that I've worked with, is tonight is the first night that you've had the public hearing on this, right? And it's prudent to give due consideration to the public hearing comments, and therefore I would not recommend acting on the special use permit application tonight. I think what we can do as town engineer and town staff, we can help prepare for you parts 2 and 3 of the environmental assessment form to be able to have a determination of significance with regard to the environmental review, and also prepare some findings so that you have you've got substance behind a decision, in that it's done with due consideration for the information that's been shared tonight, not only by the public, but also by the applicant and the responses there. And if there's any other research that you want to get done between now and another planning board meeting, and to speak to your point about the 10 units and whether or not you can act on that, I guess my recommendation also might be to have the ZBA make their decision on the density requirement prior to making if we're going to key in on a special use permit allowing 10 units, if we're going to get that precise, then we might want to have that determination by the ZBA made prior to your decision as a planning board.
Yeah, I think it's going to be important that we get the number a little clearer instead of us doing the ZBA's work tonight by going ahead and approving 10 units. I have a little concern after hearing some of the public comments about the water to the east and the flooding that I'd like to get flushed out, no pun intended, a little bit more. On the surface of it, I didn't have a real problem. I also want to get clarification on the 3rd Street ownership. If it was represented to us that it was abandoned by the town in '93, I believe was the testimony, and that it was deeded to other people. So if that's the case, I think that we should actually know that information, because I think that'll be important to the applicant on how they proceed also. And I don't know what we're doing tonight, Mr. Chair, but I would
We haven't figured that out yet.
recommend that if we don't proceed tonight, that we may want to consider a motion to reopen the public hearing.
I was going to concur on that, but I do have a question, so I appreciate the advice and the comments. I was going to ask how we were going to do a seeker evaluation. What's different for a special use than it would be for when it's site plan? I just want to understand, because
Yeah.
it's kind of concerning, especially considering some of the comments we heard.
Yeah, right, because that's a good point. Some of the comments we heard were related specifically, or would generally be related to a site plan application versus a special use permit. Typically, what you might see in another community is that an applicant would apply for both at the same time, site plan and special use permit concurrently. So what you would see there is a single environmental assessment form for both aspects of that project, where you're evaluating the project as a whole and not necessarily separating out a seeker review for special use permit and then have another seeker review for site plan. So, I'm not quite sure how we came to look just at the special use permit tonight versus maybe looking at the site plan later on. I think that's a fine approach, but if we do a separate seeker review for each, we're going to have to justify and identify why taking a look at each separately is no less protective of the environment, and we'll have to make findings in that regard.
Seems like we could get into a complicated issue there.
It could
Okay.
be.
So unless anybody else from the board has a comment, does the applicant?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
could I just address that a little bit? The process you've spoken to, I think we can concur with, and moving towards a site plan special permit in unison, and that would relieve your fears of a segmented environmental, and that's fine. What we would like is to move forward to the zoning board, which it sounds like everybody else wants us to do too, so we can get that issue wrapped up and then come back to you with site plan and special permit in tandem.
I was just going to ask you if you were okay with that, so you answered my questions.
Right.
So you're okay that we're not going to take action tonight, and we're going to reopen the public hearing when you come back with the site plan, which we would have done anyways, but,
Yes.
okay.
I'm
You
Steve
gotta-
Labazzetto, the owner,
Can you state your name and address, please?
96 Reservoir Avenue, Rochester, New York. I just want to make a comment on the 3rd Street ownership issue. When it was abandoned, the adjacent property owners automatically, at the same moment, became owners adjacent to their properties, 50% or halfway into Third Street. Westage occupies the whole west side of the street. And then the other three properties on the east side of Third Street all owned whatever was adjacent to them out to that line as well, midway to the street. So there's 4 owners now of Third Street, none of which can restrict any access or ingress or egress, restrict any of the use of Third Street as it had. But to the public, it is no longer available. So it is a private road. So anyway, that's how Third Street ended up getting deeded to the adjacent property owners. And that's reflected in the site, and it's actually, part of the survey.
And just to add, the town board, Mark Kostich, the town board looked at this extensively during the rezoning.
Okay. I got it. So I think we're going to take your input, the fact that you're okay with what we proposed. I just wanted to make a couple comments. One, even though we closed the public hearing tonight, you still have the opportunity to send comments in prior to the next time they come before the board. That's for the public. In addition, we will be opening the public hearing when they do come back, if you still come back for the consolidated review. Okay? And with that, we just got some business to take care of, so I'm going to make a motion, unless anybody has any comments before I go forward. Okay. I'm going to make a motion that in regards to seeker, we table that at this point in time regarding case PB 2024-03-01.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Got a full board. I'm not used to this. And then in regards to PB 2024-03-01, we're going to also table that until you go before the zoning board and come back with a consolidated review. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'm going to stop you for a second. I don't think that's a proper motion. I think we're asking that this come back to us as a consolidated review for a special permit and for site plan all at one time.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
So
That's what I think everybody.
So if I have to repeat it, so I mean for a consolidated, both the
That was
special
just
use
adjourning
and the
this
site plan.
case
Table it.
in lieu of.
Is it an adjournment or a table? I guess that's a good
It means the
question.
same thing, sorry.
I got 2 different choices.
But if we were to do this, if you're amenable to this as a amendment to your motion, that we would request that the town seek the answers to the comments that we've provided to them, that the application come back as a consolidated special use permit, site plan review permit, and that we proceed at the next available time that works for the applicant and the town.
What about the zoning board? You don't care about that? I thought you're the one that asked for the zoning board.
The zoning board.
To go before the zoning board before they came back.
Whatever.
Because we're going to want them to vote on, and make a determination on 10 units over the 8.5 that are allowed.
Do you have any
If
problem?
that's the case, though, who's the lead on seeker is going to be my question. And that's a question for town.
I'll double check on that. If it's an area variance, potentially it might, that part of the action might be type 2. We'll check with Nixon. We'll check with legal on that. It's a great question.
I would concur, it's type 2.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would also recommend the board adding in there the reopening of the public hearing upon returning to the planning board. If you want to add that into the motion, please.
So, anything else, guys? Okay. So regarding case number PB 2024-03-01, with the following conditions. Request the town to seek the answers to, you didn't state to what?
Answers to the information we have provided, or the questions we have provided to the applicant and the town.
And it would be a consolidated special use and site plan approval. Number 2, town to check on the town to check on type 2 for seeker. And reopening of the public hearing. Now, we didn't address the zoning board. We do prefer you to go to the zoning board before you come back. Is that any issue adding that?
I would like the town to take care of that. I don't know that I want to play traffic cop on that one.
Yeah, I don't think you need to put that in the resolution.
Just by stating town to check on type 2 seeker is enough?
Yeah.
Leave it at that?
Yeah, leave it at that.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody who's staying, please stay. If you're going to leave, please leave now before we start the next case. Thank you.
Next case on the agenda is case number PB 2024-03-02, request by Sign and Lighting Services LLC for signage approval for Citizens Bank on premises 525 Titus Avenue in a C Business District.
Guys, please remember, we got a public hearing going on, please. Please. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening. Kirk Wright, Sign and Lighting Services, 530 State Route 104, Ontario, New York. I'd actually like to bring up Paul Gagel from Citizens Bank. Project consists of the removing of the current drive-up bank and the electric charging stations, and a new bank being built in that place. We have multiple signs, awnings, and that meet the standard Citizens Bank branding. And again, I'd like to bring up Paul. He knows more about the project than I, so.
Thank you, Kirk. Good evening. Paul Gagel, 27777 Franklin Road, Southfield, Michigan. I'm the project manager assigned to this project, and here tonight at this public hearing to present our package, and we've submitted a revised brand book based off of the working session 2 weeks ago to make some changes, but we're seeking approval on our current brand book.
Any questions from the board?
What did we end up, the total proposal is, just explain to me in English so everybody can hear.
Well, during the working session, we talked about a couple of different things.
We didn't talk about anything because it's already been approved. So I need to figure out where we're at on that with you in this drawing.
So, when you say it was approved, at the working session, I thought we were...
The toter was approved, the toter.
On the site plan.
On the site plan, is what he's saying.
And it was looking like a dumpster enclosure to us. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page on that.
Yes, there's going to be, we are going to, yes, it's my understanding that that was agreed during the site plan review to use totes there, yes.
I thought we verified that at the last meeting, at the workshop.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I thought so too. It was just on there, and it was a lingering question for me.
Okay, and this is for signage approval.
Yeah, I understand exactly what we're here for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So any questions on the signage? Do you want, maybe we should start. Michelle, I think there was a memo that was sent. Maybe you could list the actions that we asked them to look into as a start. And then maybe you can address each one of those actions. Would be helpful. And then we'll go into the questions from there.
Okay, so number one, I'm going to read off of your memo, if you guys are okay with that. The board asked if we had any locations nearby that have been recently completed so they can drive by to review signage. I could not think of any locations at the moment. I've checked with the immediate area near Irondequoit. It doesn't appear that any of the 5 branches that have been rebranded yet: Brighton, Panorama Plaza, Franklin Street, Culver Ridge Plaza, and Empire Boulevard.
Okay.
Excuse me, if I may. In the responses there, you'll see the initials DE.
DE?
Yes, that is a response from our sign vendor,
Okay,
primary sign vendor. And as we go through the MS, in blue is from Matt Silva. He was the architect that was at the site plan meetings when you reviewed the site plans, just for clarification.
oh, perfect, okay, great, great. And board members, you should all have a copy of this that I'm reading from.
Yep.
Number 2, board member requested Kelvin temperatures for each exterior sign, including wall sconces on the exterior of the building. DE responded, I have the information for the building signage and will add it to the brand book, which he states all are 6,500 kelvins. I defer to Bisbano, general contractor, for the wall sconces, and that was Matt Silva. Excuse me. He responded that the sconces will be, 4,000 kelvins. Number 3, board member asked how many times do we have our name on the logo, name or logo on the building. The board member mentioned that they denied some signage for a previous applicant as they thought it was too much. He advised the board that they had told the applicant that they could have 3. This should be the precedent. My tally, which needs to be confirmed, east elevation, page 3 equals 2, / north elevation, page 5 equals 5, including door vinyls. West elevation, page 9 equals 2. South elevation, page 15 equals 3. Second lane remote ATM equals 4. Monument sign, page 24, -2 total equals 18. Matt Silva responded, I think for this one, this would be related to the physical letter sets and monument signage only, and possibly the logos on the drive-up surrounds. Physically dictating door vinyls, I feel would be expressive, since this really can't be seen from the street. DE responded, the east elevation, are they considering the interior daisy wheel? If so, 2 if so, 1 if not. On the north elevation, same question regarding the interior daisy wheel. Also, are they counting each door for the door vinyls? If yes to both, agree 5. I agree with Matt and don't feel the door vinyls should be included in the calculations. West elevation, agree 2. South elevation, there should only be 2. The TTW?
TTW is an acronym for through the wall.
Through the wall, and remote surrounds. Thank you. The day 2 machine needs to be removed. DD set in DD? I don't know what that means.
Design documents.
Design document set indicates this is out of scope for this project. I will correct the BB. Brain book. Monument sign, agree 2.
I'm sorry, could you tell me what the day 2 machine needs to be removed means? I'm sorry.
That was in the first lane drive-through, shadowed in on plans, they showed a future ATM that could have been installed based on volume after the branch is relocated. Because sometimes we do plan that, we kind of look ahead and try to future-proof it. Doesn't mean we're going to install it, but it's shown on the plans just as a possible location for a second machine sometime in the future based on traffic flow.
So are you seeking approval for that tonight or not?
I'll have to go back to the construction drawings. I would say no.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Go ahead.
Okay, number 4, the illuminated awnings. They would like to see photos of a completed install and the address as to where the branch is so that they can check with Google Earth. The photos we provided can be uploaded to a PDF. The photos we provided can uploaded to a PDF format. Matt responded, if this is in reference to the MAPES canopies, linear lights versus the shed awnings, this is the first of its kind. DE responded, there is only one shed awning with a light bar, and it has S9. I would recommend using University Square for an example of that type of awning. I don't have any night photos, and the town won't be able to view the awnings on Google Earth because they were recently installed. The Kelvin temperatures for the light bar that will illuminate the shed awning is also 6,500 kelvins. I will ask the installer for University Square to get the night photos of the awnings.
If I may, in the package that was returned, there were a couple photos that were taken of different locations. They are not near here, but they depict what the awnings with the light bar would look like. There's a couple from 183 Massachusetts Ave in Boston, and also from 2200 Richmond Ave on Staten Island. Those pictures should be in your packets that depict and show what the awnings with the light bars look like.
Is that more than one photograph? I'm asking.
I actually have 3 photographs that I printed out for this meeting tonight. 2 were for 183 Massachusetts.
Here's what I've got. You got something more than that?
That's what you're holding up, sir, is a depiction of the downlights on the MAPES canopy.
Okay.
So there were 3 photos that were included that look like this, that depict the awnings and the light bar above the awning that
Can you-
washes light.
Can you pass those around?
Pass those around. I don't believe I had those in my packet.
Doesn't matter. You can start one. But also, is that something that Michelle would be able to keep as part of the submission? Okay, thank you.
We can resend the electronic files as well. But there was an attachment at the end of one of the responses that had them included. Would you like those resent electronically?
Yes, please, because I don't recall receiving those.
Okay.
I think you can keep going, Michelle.
Okay, we were number 5, right? Existing sign in front of Dunkin' Donuts, photo attached. They asked if this will be removed. I said yes. If we are going to invest and install the monument sign as depicted in the brand book, it would be removed. Matt Silva said, unsure if we'll be removing the signage as this may be used for a more appropriate tenant like Dunkin', but the insert will definitely be removed to allow for the relocation of our signage to the new monument. DE also commented, we can remove the citizens' panels and install blank panels. We shouldn't leave the sign open without panels. Number 6, need to verify the location of the new monument sign. We need to confirm it is within our property line and not in front of a Dunkin' Donuts. Matt Silva responded, the location was shown in our plans during our final site plan review, although the condition of the approval was that it was not related to signage. That said, the location proposed is within our tenant line, shown highlighted below. Okay. DE responded, I will update the notes in the brand book to state that the sign is located within the tenant line and add the image below. And then they showed the diagram showing the sign. Number 7, we had this conversation, new monument sign. One board member feels that we do not need the monument sign with all the other branding on the building. He mentioned that there are other banks in the area that do not have monument signs. Matt Silva responded, fair. This was more to replace the one that we are losing. Their previous commentary was that it didn't make sense for us to maintain the one in front of Dunkin' Donuts. DE responded, I will revise the brand book to reflect a decision if the new monument is being removed from the scope. If the new monument is removed, will citizens keep the existing monument and do face replacements?
Sort of a question on a question, so
Yeah,
what's the
so
answer?
That is something that, because that's outside of our property line, and that I would have to go back to any lease agreements or see what is structured around that. If we're, have a easement agreement with something with Dunkin' Donuts or something, to see what we could do to keep that one there as it is now. Or if we would have to remove it, change out the blank faces, or again, back to putting up our own monument sign within our new property lines.
So I guess what you're going to tell us tonight, what you're going to propose is, are you proposing a new monument sign, or are you?
From the bank's perspective, we would like to see a new monument sign within our property lines.
Okay. We'll come back to all of that.
Okay, number 8, how will we illuminate the monument sign? Our new monument sign is not illuminated. The brand book calls for exterior OL-28 lighting by GC. We need to show an example cut sheet of this lighting and the Kelvin rating. MS responded, ideally, this would have been internally illuminated similar to the existing sign image below, but the comments we received during our review session is that this should be externally illuminated with ground lights. We're currently planning on using OL-28. Specs can be found at the link below. For the Kelvin rating, I defer to AGI for the best color rendering on the signage. I'd like to match what we're using on the main building. DE responded, I have the data sheet for the OL-28 lights. I will include the Kelvin information in the brand book. These have 2 options, warm at 3,000 kelvins and cool at 4,000 kelvins. Signs and daisy wheel are 6,500 kelvins, as you stated previously. MS responded, I think 4,000 kelvins would be the best color rendering. Do you agree? Number 10, the new monument sign included in the overall calculation of the square footage to get the 20% threshold is the new monument sign. DE responded, during the early meetings with the town, did the calculations for square footage include the monument? I don't think that we ever discussed any notes from the town on this. MS responded, signage was not part of our discussions. It was shown for coordination purposes only, but the condition of our approval was that signage would be submitted under a separate heading. Number 11, brand book north elevation, page 8, revise or clarify the note for S6-A, white daisy wheel is depicted. The note says green. DE responded, updating the notes, daisy wheel is white. Number 12, brand book, west elevation, page 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, remove garbage enclosure on all sheets. Board member advised that as part of the site plan review, the bank stated that we will be using totes and not have a dumpster at this branch. Need to clarify, as I was not part of those meetings. MS responded, this is correct. There will be a toter enclosure for this branch. A dumpster should not be utilized. DE responded, the brand book has a toter enclosure labeled as garbage enclosure. Should this be completely removed from the brand book or simply clarify that is for the totes and not a dumpster enclosure? If there's any specs available, please send that information to me. I could include that information in the brand book. MS responded, specs for the fencing, yes. See following link. It is essentially privacy fencing, FE-2.
Can I stop there for a second? So that was your question.
Yeah, no, I understand, yeah.
Okay, so did you get your answer, or are you still?
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, number 13, brand book, west elevation, page 9, revise or clarify the note for S7. A white daisy wheel is depicted, the note says green. DE responded, updating the notes, daisy wheel is white. 14, not discussed. The day 2 remote ATM is depicted on pages 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. DE, should this be removed from the brand book for these proceedings? Question mark.
The answer is
Yes.
okay.
15, Mapes canopy downlights. Board member asked if they would reflect up off the metal. I advised that they are recessed lights and will shine down to illuminate the sidewalk below. We should include cut sheets of the lights and a photo example of these lights in our response. MS responded correct. These are downlit only. Since the canopy is open air along the top, the fixture needs to be entirely enclosed to maintain weather resistance. See image below for an installation at the Garden City branch. DE responded, defer to Bispano, GC for the Mapes canopies.
And that's that image that we were looking at.
The end.
Well, okay. The sequel.
The sequel.
This little icon right here at the end of the photo, that's the, if you click on that link, you'll get the photos.
So that was my mistake. I apologize, board.
Oh, that's
I
all right.
didn't click on the links.
Mapes,
So-
M-A-P-E-S. That's our standard.
So I'm going to ask some questions I wrote down as we went through that. So on number 10, is the new monument sign included in the overall calculation? Is there calculations for this available? How many of your signage, is it within what's allowed? Do we have all that?
There are calculations, I did see some calculations within the revised brand book.
That we have, or, I'm sorry.
Well, the revised brand book was submitted to you, so you should have a revised brand book that was dated March 19th, 2024.
Was that another link?
I believe it was. It should have been, yes.
Ours is January 4th, 2024.
Okay, I'm more than happy to share this copy that I have.
I have one
Or-
here too, Paul.
Or we can, we'll get the electronic copy.
I
sent.
apologize.
Oh, that's okay. We get it to you.
So I think you're going to have to help us a little bit then, since
Is
we
that
have, what's different, with what you have?
Well, the changes that we went through, that Michelle just read, are the things we talked about at the working session. So those were updated in the brand book. Now, if we're focusing on the calculations, we have a page, and Kirk help me out here. These are the correct calculations, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Facade including windows 835 square feet. Wall signs allowed 20%, which would be 167 square feet. 26.82 on the one sign, so I'm sure that we're compliant square footage wise. Now, the logo in the window actually shouldn't be counted as signage because it's inside the building.
I think we went through that at the workshop, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
And then
It's
you
not
have,
lighted, correct?
That's correct. It's a non-illuminated light.
Okay.
my drawing set is the same as yours, I apologize. I made Paul a new one. So square footage wise, we are compliant.
And does the town concur with that? Since we don't have the updated book.
Yes, well, we don't have any indication from code enforcement that this is not compliant, what they've proposed. Also, if you look at Table B in the zoning for signage, one of the subscript notes indicates signage for these districts, which includes the C business district, shall be determined by the planning board upon design review. So I think that gives you the flexibility to be able to modify.
Okay.
And approve what you wish.
Got it. Thank you. So just let me ask a basic question. So I looked at other banks on that street, and I saw the one across the street's only lit on two sides, east and west, I believe, and the north and south are not lit. Are you planning on lighting all four sides of yours?
We do have some illumination on all four sides, yes. That's currently in our brand book.
On the signage, because you have canopies and everything else, so I'm just asking about the signs that you have.
Yes, we'll have them.
So you want illumination on all four sides? Okay.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
So I did notice the other bank, M&T, does have illumination on all four sides, in case anybody went and checked that out down the street. Okay. I think those were the questions I had. Does anybody else have any questions? Seeing none? Okay. Does the town have any questions before I open up the public hearing? Okay, with that, please have a seat.
Okay?
Anybody who would like to address this, please come forward and address the board and the board only. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ann Burns, and I live at 199 Bellhurst Drive. I'm here this evening as co-chair of Helping Arundecoit Plan for Progress, HIP. The HIP group, a community stakeholder group. We've worked tirelessly for over 25 years on the renaissance and the economic improvement of the Titus Cooper Hudson Mixed-Use District. We are here in support of this application by Citizens Bank to downsize, relocate their Arundecoit Plaza branch to face Hudson Avenue, and we know that tonight is the sign package proposal. So my comments this evening relate to the signage, and we appreciate Michelle sent us the whole package. So I'm going to start with design guidelines. We understand that the plaza is in the C commercial district, but it's bordered by the mixed use, and so there's a lot of mixture going on here. As was mentioned, the ESL that's across the street, that is within the district. Summit Federal Credit Union and the Evans branch of their bank, which is further south on Hudson, they are not in the mixed-use district, but they constructed their buildings and their signage to comply with the design guidelines for this district. And this is made for a much more attractive street front along Hudson Avenue. In terms of the monument sign, we would propose that a monument sign isn't required. With all the other branding on this building, a monument sign really isn't necessary. Other banks in the area, including ESL directly across the street, and this was mentioned, they only have signs on two sides that are lit. They do not have a monument sign. For many years, there was a lease agreement because the Cooper Homestead, where the Dunkin' Donuts was, went straight back. So the current branch is part of that property. When the Dunkin' Donuts went in, it caused a visual block of the sign for Citizens Bank. So Citizens got the sign that is in front of Dunkin'. But we believe, because of the moving of this branch, that, this building's going to be close to Hudson. There really isn't a need for a monument sign. Again, also, Evans Branch doesn't have a monument sign. So just food for thought. Signage reduction opportunities. We also ask that Citizens Bank bring this building into compliance with the design guidelines for the Titus Cooper Hudson Master Plan. We ask that the number of branded signs be reduced on the proposed building and the ATM drive-through structure. In the comments we saw from the workshop, which Michelle just read, talked about total signage to be 18. We really believe this is a lot of signs for this size of a building. We would recommend that the following signs be eliminated from the total package. Number one is the multiple branded signage on the sides and backs of all the ATM machines on the south and west elevations. You don't have to have signs on all sides of an ATM. Number two, the white daisy wheel graphic that's on the through-the-wall ATM on the south elevation. This graphic increases the size of the ATM width by at least 50%. Number three, the green branded vinyls on all doors. There's just a lot of green, and we know this is the brand. Number four, the white daisy wheels that are by themselves on the west and north elevations near the roof line. They're sort of on that slatted tower that is on that corner of the building. Number five would be the sculptural illuminated letterhead sign on the green roof band above the ATMs. The ATMs already have citizen signage. That roof sign, we feel, is not necessary. And then no signage on the toter enclosure, which was discussed as well. Exterior lighting of signs. In addition, we ask that signage be exterior lit rather than backlit or interior lit for further adherence to the design guidelines. We recommend that the main Citizens Bank signage over the north and the east entrances be lit using attractive contemporary style gooseneck lighting, as ESL did directly across the street at 2256 Hudson. And we realize that the style of this architecture planned by Citizens is more contemporary than the ESL building design. We recommend a more contemporary style of exterior lighting, and we submitted these designs with our comments to the planning department, and you should have all seen those. We also want to reiterate with the applicant that the large green daisy logo inside the main foyer is not to be lit, and that was clarified. For the signage on the south and west elevations, we recommend that these signs not be lit at all. The ones that say Citizens with the green daisy. And was mentioned by Mr. Richards, ESL has their signage, actually I think it was Bernie, all four signs of the building, but only two are lit. Yes, the east and the west are the only lit, and they're lit externally with gooseneck lighting. For example, Chase Bank at the corner of Cooper and Titus, a very short distance away, only has two signs for their entire building. One in the front yard and a very small sign over the back door. Both of these signs are unlit. They're not even externally lit. Chase has only one sign associated with their ATM on the west side of the building, and their ATM is a neutral gray silver, not their corporate blue, just a bit of a difference. And again, the Evans Bank, also not in the mixed-use district, agreed to adhere to the design guidelines. They have limited signage, which isn't lit at all, and their ATMs are neutrally colored, not their corporate orange. In terms of ATM lighting, it's not clear from the sign plan if the entirety of all the ATM faces will be lit as green. ATMs are not required to be internally lit for bank safety. These ATMs faces can be externally lit if lit at all. We would prefer they not be lit at all. We understand there will be lighting outside the ATMs for security purposes. We know that's required. The awning lighting, which was also brought up. We request that the awnings canopies proposed to have that integrated lighting not be lit. The backlit awnings/canopies proposed would serve as de facto interior lit signs. These awnings are in the following locations, and you can see them in the sign plan. There's the north elevation directly above the main entrance doors, the north elevation the whole length of the building above the windows, the east elevation, which is the whole length of the building above the windows, and the west elevation next to the door above the window glass. This Citizens branch is going to be a short 300 feet walk from established single-family homes, and this building needs to fit with this residential neighborhood. We know this is a C commercial, but you're also right on top of residential. These multiple proposed types of awning and sign lighting would be more appropriate on our main commercial corridor of Ridge Road, and not in this unique pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. In terms of the green branding, and this is one of my final comments, there are many locations on this small site and this small building where the Citizens Green branding is proposed, and these are de facto signs. Locations that we question, including this green branding, are the large green rectangle on the south and the east elevations, on top of that gray cement composite material. We recommend that if this rectangle is necessary, it should be colored the same gray as the cement composite material, so it blends in. Otherwise, just continue with that gray composite material. Number 2, the horizontal green-lit canopy band on the south corner elevation. Number 3, the vertical green banding on the south elevation at the east corner of the building. And number 4, the short green-lit awning bands on the corner of the south and the west elevations of the building, which is on that slatted tower. There's already plenty of green on all the sides of the building with the signage, the interior green daisy, the green ATMs, the green bollards, and the green band soffit planned above the ATM drive-through. These additional green highlights mentioned are just a bit excessive in our mind. And then parking lot lighting, I just bring that up here. Even though it's not part of this application, we weren't clear from the other public hearings if there is going to be decorative light poles in the parking lot around the building. And if there are plans for decorative light poles, we ask that they be an appropriate height scaled to the lighting at Summit Federal Credit Union, ESL, and that the concrete bases for these light poles be a maximum of 6 inches high. We just didn't get that clarified in the last public hearing. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Would the applicant like to speak to the comments that were brought up?
Thank you, Paul Gagel, 27777 Franklin Road, Southfield, Michigan, Citizens Bank. I'm at a slight disadvantage. I can answer some of these, but we did not receive this information from the association until 3:40 p.m. today via email. So it was new information to me at that time when it came through, and we have to take some time to digest it. I actually have to take some time to review some of the comments with our internal design team. But I can address a couple things. With regards to the white daisy wheels that we put up, it's our brand. It's recognizable. For lack of a better comparison, if you see a Starbucks logo, you know there's a Starbucks there. If you see our logo, you know it's a Citizens Bank, no matter which way you travel. Totally get the signage on the tote enclosures, makes perfect sense. The gooseneck lighting would be a design change for us. The people that were here for the site plan review and approval of the building, that was all shown on the plans. So again, that's a design change. The ATMs, talking about the ATMs being green, that actually is reference to our surrounds. We have what they call a surround around the ATM machine that is illuminated. We use an illuminated surround. The banks down the street, M&T has one, they have a green surround. I don't know whether it's illuminated. I only had a little brief time to drive by today, but I do see they have a green surround. Whether it's illuminated or not at night, I don't know. I will know when I leave the meeting tonight. So there are some, some similarities here of what's already in place. Aldi, I'm assuming Aldi is in the overlay district. Aldi has a monument sign. We're directly across the street from Aldi, so a monument sign would balance out that section of the road, is my first thought. And their lighting is tall, typical lighting. Again, that's another site plan issue that I have to go back to and review. I'm not I have to clarify that as well. So the panels on the building as well, on the corner, on the south and east side, I think it was, those are panels. Those are metal panels that are attached to the building. So that we put our normal brick up, then we attach those panels as accents. Now, a lot of the green that was talked about is green. It's vinyl in the windows that's applied to the glass as an accent vinyl. So these are some of the things, elements that we typically do at our branches, no matter where we go. It's just our branding. And it's our brand, is what it basically boils down to. And I certainly understand the layover district and appreciate the efforts that they're doing, but we are outside of that district as well. So I'd just like to reiterate that, which they kindly included in their comments as well.
Okay. And any other questions from the board?
And not a question necessarily, but a clarification. The awnings and the lighting underneath it were all approved on the site plan?
I don't recall seeing illumination measurements that may have come from the awning lights. I remember reviewing a lighting plan associated with the site plan. I don't know that the awning illumination would add much value in terms of intensity, the intensity value of lighting.
I'm just thinking of this, Wes, as part of the site plan as opposed to a sign package.
Yeah. So as far as lighting goes, anything that has to do with lighting is generally a site plan issue.
Right.
With the exception of, for example, if you were going to permit the monument sign, how that's going to be illuminated, right? That would be something that would be, part of, I think, the site plan this sign application package.
So I guess I'm still asking for clarification on the awnings and the lighting underneath, if that was part of the original site plan. I just don't recall, and I'm sorry I don't.
If I may.
Sure.
If I may. I'm sure the architect included that because we would have wanted to represent the full look of what our branch is going to look like. So the awnings, the canopy awnings would have been called out. The MAPES canopy awnings, which is a steel fabricated canopy with the downlights, would have been included. And as well as the signage. The signage would have been represented just to give an idea of what it's going to look like, but we knew that it was going to be there.
I don't think we included
Typically, okay.
signage, but
In my error.
the
then.
real
I
question
apologize.
is, if the awnings were included, was it included on the light plan that was given to us, I think is what your other question is, right? Or
It
not?
should have been done with site plan review. I just wanted to be assured myself that we did that, and I just don't remember if we did that.
It's not
You're
normally-
representing to me that we did do that and approve the awnings and the lighting underneath the way you have it directed toward us?
I don't know, because they're bringing forward the lighting here, so I don't think it was, but we need to know.
That's why I'm asking him.
We've
You're
got-
representing that to me, that that's already been done.
Mr. Richards, Ms. Nichols here brought up a copy of the site plan application and the plan sheets, and it does indicate custom colored
MAPES.
MAPES
Canopy.
canopy, super shade with integrated lighting.
Great.
So we
Then
did
I
approve
think
it
that
then.
we can eliminate that from our discussion tonight, too.
Already been approved.
Yep.
So,
That was one thing I wanted to look at. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, if you want to make a note, that's on A 10.01 sheet
Great.
from the site plan.
See, you are much smarter than I am.
No.
Is the intent to have these lights on and illuminated 24/7?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not
Unless,
comfortable
unless
with
there's unless there's an ordinance that states otherwise. We always follow the local ordinance.
we have some discretion here. I'm not comfortable with 24/7 on all of the lights, to be honest with you. I think that the one facing Hudson Avenue is fine by me being on. I'm just expressing my opinion on this, so don't think that I will not kill any of this because it needs to move forward, but I don't believe that on the west side, I don't really care what the people in the plaza are looking at. I think north and south, there's no reason for that to be lit 24/7, unless you're saying you're open.
The only thing that's open 24/7 are the ATMs.
Right. And
ATMs are open 24/7.
that'll have its own separate lighting.
Yes, we can put that on its own separate circuit and control the lighting. We can also program the lights so that certain lights stay on 24/7, and at certain times, say 11 or 12 o'clock at night, we can turn off the west side or whatever side that's not illuminated. So
don't
we
we
have the
normally-
ability to control that.
don't we normally do the 1 hour before and 2 hours after, or what do you think is different here?
I'm fine with that. If that's where we're going, I'm good with it.
Well, I'm wondering and now I'm going to ask, so for Eastman Savings and Loan, their ATMs are way in the back of their building. What do we allow for lighting there? Do you recall, Michelle? Is it possible to check that?
There's going to be lighting on there.
So if you're talking about the ATMs themselves, they're regulated under the ATM Safety Act under New York State.
Yeah.
So the lighting is not really regulated by the local municipality.
But
At
what
the
do we allow
ATMs.
for the bank is what I'm trying to understand, for the signs on the bank.
I don't even know when that was approved, Bernie, to be honest with you, off the top of my head.
Oh,
I'd have to do some
I knew you were
research
good,
to
but I
look,
didn't think you were that good. but-
to look it up. A couple years ago, maybe?
I don't recall, Ellen, do you? I don't.
I know it was more than a couple of years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It was probably 5 years ago. I don't know necessarily if that's where the board is comfortable. I'm comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable leaving lights blazing on the north and south elevations.
We're talking about the signs, right? Right.
Excuse me.
And I'm going to let other folks, I don't know if anybody else has any
Go ahead.
questions for the applicant or if we want to go to deliberation.
Applicant wanted to say something here, so.
Excuse me. Regarding the north side is the side that faces Titus Avenue. So that is where we are going to have a ATM inside the vestibule. So lighting for us is critical for customer safety, parking, walking into the building if they choose not to go through the drive-through lane, or if the drive-through lane is backed up.
Yeah, I'm
it gives
talking
them
about your
another-
advertising signs. I'm not talking about
We're talking
inside
signs only, we're not talking about the rest of the
Okay,
site.
I'm just-
All your other signs are already been done. All that lighting's done.
Okay.
So I'm talking about your branding signs. Okay?
Understood. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah, it's not to restrict lighting, if that's what you're thinking on the rest of the
I'm
site.
thinking of our customers.
Yeah.
When they come up at
No,
night.
that's not the intent. The intent was the signs. But anybody else from the board have comments?
Are we asking to deliberate this now?
Yes,
Or-
yeah. But the applicant we don't usually ask them to sit down, so it's okay.
I guess my only thing is where are we with, still kind of unclear with the monument sign.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the applicant's intent is to keep it, is what he
Right.
said.
But I think we're in a kind of an awkward spot here where if we say no, then they just keep the existing sign out in front of Dunkin' Donuts and we don't.
Not necessarily.
It's off their property.
It's off their
It's off their
property, so we don't know.
Yeah, we have no say on that.
Right.
So that just keep,
Maybe.
yeah.
Do we have a depiction of this monument sign somewhere?
Yeah, it's in the back.
It's in that pack.
On the back of,
Which sheet is it? The monument?
I think it is the last one.
That's right. It's number 24, 28, the 124 package.
got it.
You're not getting them all? Let's do it here.
You might have it in your version. That hasn't changed.
Here you go.
Okay. If you have the brand book dated January 4th, it's on page 24.
Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, there would be no change to that. And just a point of reference, when the minutes were read, the OL is an acronym for outside light. It's a denotation on our architectural plans. That's what that refers to.
So I think to answer your question, Dan, the only thing we know is they would remove the panel from the other sign, but there was no talk about the sign being removed or anything at this point. Any other comments?
The proposed location for the monument sign as well, isn't there a setback requirement from the property line for that?
Asking the town.
That would,
Oh, that's S19.
Michelle or Wes?
S19.
Board, I found the ESL plan. Thank you, Ann. 2018 was correct. Lighting note on the sign plan states lights not required to comply with the ATM Safety Act shall be turned off 2 hours after closing and turned on 1 hour before opening.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that too, so.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
So what we've done in most of the businesses is you can turn the lights on 1 hour before you open and leave them burning for 2 hours after. Then we ask you to dim them to off.
To extinguish them.
Yeah.
And 2 hours after.
This is just the signs we're talking about.
This is just the lights not required to comply with the ATM Safety Act.
Okay.
Shall be turned off 2 hours after closing and turned on 1 hour before opening.
I think it's redundant.
So beautiful in the wintertime. Summertime, it's like,
Or you're just playing by the same rules as everybody else on this.
no, I understand that.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
So that's going to be a condition of the approval? Am I understanding
It's
that
what I'm
correctly?
going to ask for, I know, so.
Michelle, if I'm remembering right, over at Refiners, there was a minimum setback on the monument sign from the property line. I want to say it was 15 feet. Yeah. So the proposed location definitely wouldn't be meeting that anyway, and in my opinion, it's a redundant sign that shouldn't be part of this application. That's just my
This is our
opinion.
property line.
So is it any sign or a monument sign?
Monument sign.
Okay. Because
That's
it's low
right.
to the ground, yeah.
Because the guy had to come back.
So is that something we can review with our site plan to see where it's actually on our construction site plan? To see if we meet the requirements of that 15-foot setback? And that would be 15 feet from each property line, correct?
Well, none of the signs were approved during the site plan.
No, I know, but just the position of it on our site plan.
He's asking if he can come back with a different position, which we can't say he can't.
I'd like to
Right,
verify, I'd like to
yeah.
verify that we meet that setback.
Sure. I
If
think
we
what
meet
you're,
this, if we meet the setback, would we be okay? That's
Well-
really the question for the bank.
I got you. I guess
Yeah.
some of the board members are not in favor of the monument sign. I think that was mentioned at the workshop.
Understood.
And you're hearing it again tonight, so I take it though you want to proceed with the monument sign if you can fit it.
I'm asking just to explore any opportunities there might be, that's all. So that we can make an informed decision internally about this and what the process is.
Any other questions for the applicant? Does anybody feel the monument sign's okay?
No.
Does anybody not, oh, go ahead. John?
No, I was just going to say I agree with Mr. Burdick on that. You know, we're having signage on all four sides of the building, and at the end of the day, it's a bank, so most of the people go in there are going to be customers, so they're going to know where it is. That's just my thoughts.
I have a question. So if we do extinguish the lights 2 hours after and so forth, you said your ATM can be lighted according to, what are the standards, Michelle? New York State, is it, or federal? Whatever the standards are.
Yeah, the ATM Safety Act, New York State.
Right. So in this design of this bank with the ATMs hidden on the side, is that going to obstruct any vision of your branding that they wouldn't be able to see, I guess is what I'm trying to ask. I'm trying to understand. I'm not so sure that people would know you're open for the ATM or not. How would they know?
So
I'm asking in favor of the applicant, right?
Yeah, our interior lights for the front vestibule will be on 24/7. So the front vestibule is going to be 24/7. And any signage around the ATM at the drive-through area, the surrounds would be illuminated as well.
Okay.
Plus the lights in the canopy overhead.
Okay.
That
So
fall
you're,
under the ATM Safety Act.
okay, good. And Shelley, did you have something to add or?
Well, it's just, I had a picture of the ATM, how it was lit up then.
Okay. It would have been helpful to have some of those pictures too when you submitted it. And like I said, if you had any kind of pictures of this design, would have been helpful, but I know you didn't have time to produce those. If there's no other questions, anybody else have comments on the monument sign? I just so the applicant knows how the board feels at the moment.
I just have a comment. I was just reading about Citizen, and they did, some of the comments that I saw is that the branches are supposed to be reducing their footprint, and I feel like kind of expanding your logos and your signs.
When you say reducing our footprint.
I was just reading some articles where they were talking about they're reducing their footprint of the branches.
Yes, we are.
But you're kind of extreme with the signs.
Well, we're reducing the square footage of our properties as we go through this program throughout the entire country, wherever we have a branch, whatever state we're in, to help reduce our operating cost, is what it is. It goes towards the operating cost, so we reduce that, and then we do put some signage in the branding, and the design team came up with a sign package that we use at all our locations and apply for signage everywhere we go.
So I, for one, am appreciative of what you're building in Arundequite. I just want you to know that. So,
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
Believe it or not, I am indifferent on the monument sign. I could go either way, but I do think it is excessive signage, including it. But I could go either way. I don't know if the rest of the board. I just think it's fair for them to know how we feel.
I'm not in, I think it's a redundant sign, but I get what you want to do. If it were mine, I'd do the same thing. I also think that without it meeting the setback at this moment, that it has to come back one way or another.
Yeah.
I have a question just to test my understanding on the illumination of the building lights. Are you looking for this bank to be black 2 hours after closing, or just the signage itself?
We're talking about the signs at this point.
Just signs. So the lighting on the sidewalks and such can stay illuminated 24/7?
Yeah.
As long as it's not bouncing around and it meets what the site light plans were, yes, that's fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
I said that for you, Alan, just in case.
I know.
So let me ask a question. So there's some things you need to go back on. And I know you travel far for this. Is it something you'd want to take back and table tonight and then come back with a complete, what you want to go forward with and we would rule on?
That would be the
Only because we don't have the complete updated documents.
That would be the wisest thing to do, so we can get you the full set of information, so my team, internal team, can digest the comments from the association, and that way everyone has a fair assessment of it, and, yeah, we could do that.
If we do that, I would ask you that you come back to the workshop if you could, or send us material for the workshop to review.
Okay.
In addition, if you come back for the public hearing, I would like to reopen the public hearing if we do that.
Okay.
Is that okay?
And what is the schedule for that? Or will that come later?
Michelle?
Once in an eclipse, that we will be here.
So I have to look because we
It's
just
the
moved the
15th
April
will be
meetings
the-
because of the eclipse is on the 8th.
The 15th will be the workshop. And then
But
the,
this submission date has
Okay,
already
yeah.
passed for the April meeting, but because if the board is gonna table it,
yeah.
and if
Take
he
it
wants
off the table, all right?
to come to the April meeting, I would say revise docs at least by the April 10th.
Okay.
I could at least get an electronic file to the board members.
All right.
Have Melissa flag me with a little note to make sure I print out the links, please.
Okay. If there's a challenge with the link, just let me know, and I'm happy to drop off hard copies.
Thank you. I apologize again for that. That was my error.
And our intent is not to make you come back, but since there's some areas that you have to look into too, I think it would be prudent to do it that way. Having said that, any other questions you have before you come back for that?
Not at this.
Okay, so you're okay.
So
that we're-
April 15th would be the workshop, and then is it 2 weeks after that, the public hearing?
Correct. April 15th and April 29th.
So just one clarification from the town. On my sheet, you have seeker. We don't do seeker on signage, right?
This will be type 2.
Oh, just a type 2? Okay. So we'll hold off on everything until you come back. But so I'll have a motion on PB 2024-03-02 regarding seeker to table that till the meeting in April. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And in regard, did I get a second on that?
Second.
Sorry. Thank you. And in regards to PB 2024-03-02, I move that we table that until the February 8th with the applicant to provide more information. Do we want to put any conditions on that? No. I think you know the areas. Do I have a second? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience, and let's get this right. So the next time, we'll get it all done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Can we take a 5-minute break, please, Michelle? Thank you.
For PB 2024-03-03, request by Marathon Engineering acting as agent for Arundequite TK Owner LLC for preliminary and final site plan approval for the redevelopment of the existing Regal Movie Theater and traffic improvements on premises 2255 East Ridge Road in the C Business District.
Good evening, Matt Tomlinson, Marathon Engineering, joined today by Jeff Sager and Jerry Goldman, both representing the ownership. We've been before this board a couple times now, both at concept and at the workshop. And at the workshop, there were several questions or clarifications asked that I want to run through here. But just quickly as a recap, this is the prior Regal Cinema on the east side of Culver Ridge Plaza in the main plaza building, proposing to redevelop that into 5 retail spaces, with some small demolition for the curved marquee at the front of the movie theater and a small portion of the rear in order to create a loading dock and trash area, as well as egress points for those different tenants versus the single large user that was in there before. Other improvements on the site include several landscaped islands to help formalize and channelize traffic, vehicular traffic, as well as provide safety improvements for pedestrians with raised crosswalks and more defined drive aisles to eliminate some of the diagonal traffic patterns to the storefronts that occurs today. A couple of other improvements that are notable are the stormwater. We understand that we're below all of the thresholds required to treat stormwater, but know that there are several areas of concern that have been raised by residents or neighbors as well as town staff. We are proposing 3 main ones. The first is the addition of green space and landscaping, which helps reduce runoff by adding green areas to the site where there are very minimal areas today within the parking field specifically. The second one is creation of a subsurface storage for stormwater runoff that will accept water from the existing storm line, provide some detention within that area when the downstream storm sewer is surcharged, and then release it over time as that storm sewer relieves itself further downstream. And then the third and final was to propose or provide a overflow storm sewer structure in the southeast corner of the site up against the raised curbing. There is a single storm drain back in that area that has a habit of getting clogged through debris, trash, leaves over that single point, and then the overflow is to a neighbor's yard. We're proposing a domed cover structure that will allow floatables or other trash to be caught on that while still allowing water into the system. So all of these steps we feel are what the project can bear from a budget and from a practical standpoint as it relates to the redevelopment of the theater building. A couple of the questions that were raised by staff and by the board during the workshop that I just wanted to quickly touch on. The 11 by 17 plan that I handed out shows the outline or rectangle area that was approved previously for the fireworks tent or sale area that's temporary or a special use permit. I'm not sure exactly how the board granted, but that rectangle reflects the plan that we were provided that shows that. Another question was related to the trash compactor and some of the noise at the rear of the plaza. Trash compactors from typical providers are about 65 to 70 decibels. For frame of reference, 60 decibels is kind of normal conversation. Traffic on a road that's not high speed is usually around 70 decibels. So we're right in the range of the ancillary noise around the plaza, and anticipate that that will not be a nuisance to neighbors. The compactor will also allow for slightly less frequent emptying of those compactors, and that will limit or reduce the amount of beeping for vehicles emptying those as well. Landscaping added, trash compactor. I believe that touches on all of the main points, and of course I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has on that.
Board have any questions?
I just have a real quick, stupid one. Is there lighting in the back driveway?
There's building mounted lighting along the whole
Currently,
rear of the
right?
plaza. I'm not aware of any light poles along the back. Sorry, Jeff can answer that better than I can.
Yep.
Jeff Sager, 40 Stoneleigh Trail, Victor. Yes, I think in the far corner, in the corner closest to the fire department, I believe there is maybe one pole over there, but the rest of it is just building lit.
Yeah, okay, that was my recollection.
And then maybe just an RG&E pole too. It's probably rented. I don't think it's ours.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Matt, looking at the shared mechanical space, is the only entrance that single man door?
In the shared mechanical space.
Yes.
Sorry again.
Just number 4.
Yeah, and just number 4.
No interior access then?
Correct.
So you have a single 30-inch opening to try to get mechanicals in and out of on replacement?
Yeah, it may actually be a little bigger just because we have a very large rooftop hatch.
Right.
So the stairs that are currently external are all getting moved into that mechanical room so that there'll be no access to the roof.
Right.
And so that'll be all internal now. And so there's a fairly large hatch that's going to be up there. So I got to make sure the door is the same size, but yes, that'll be the only way to get up.
Be going through you'll be craning equipment through that hatch then?
I don't know about craning, but at least the technicians will be able to get their gear and everything up there to the roof and service all those rooftops.
It'll help with the graffiti too.
The graffiti's,
Right, correct? That's why you're moving the staircase inside.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just safety that's a very tall roof.
Yeah.
For ladders getting up there.
Any other questions? Does the town have any questions? Okay, with that, I'm just going to open it up for public input. Anybody who would like to address this, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and direct your questions to the board, and only the board.
My name is David Sayas. I live in 198 Russell Avenue, and I'm the one who back in July sent all of you a video of my flood in my yard. And I don't know if the only person answering me back from the board was P. Wheeler, something like that is his name. But I sent this video to all of you or the board that was there by them before. So you guys could view the problem back there with the drainage. I guess that's why they were asking was part of the proposal. I'm not sure. But I'm the one who see this front line of when it overflows. It goes through my yard, which I have videos, and it looks like literally like Niagara Falls. That's how bad it is back there. It floods through my yard, which is causing mold in my basement, and also goes through all these neighborhoods, Forest, Ransom, Russell Avenue. And I have like 10 people who signed a petition letter that I have it also in record that they have some damages in their yard. It gets stuck, this water goes through the fence. My yard is all washed out in the back. The fence, I could see through the plaza right behind the movie theater. So I'm the first one who see all this flooding just because it's only one drainage in the back of that plaza, and it creates like a funnel. All this water from the plaza exit through my backyard because it has one pipe and goes to this little pipes that the town probably has, and if they got big pipes going to smaller pipe, it creates that flooding in my yard. Very bad. Every time that it rains, pour rains, my yard gets flooded, all the debris ends up in my yard. The manager have done, but what I call is put in a bandage. They come, they send somebody, clean it up, but the problem still persists in that back part of the property, literally behind the movie theater. So I wish they could address that since they're gonna do some remodeling. I'm not opposed of business. I mean, I like to have people work, and that's what we're here for. I acquired this house in 2018, and I've been seeing numerous times my yard get flooded, probably like 4 or 5 times. And it's ridiculous seeing all this debris, needles, and a bunch of stuff that comes from that plaza, exit through my property, and goes all the way through all these streets. And I have been here, I have knocked the doors in in around the DPU, forgot the place. Over there, and I have tell everybody, and I have come here, I have shown my videos. I even talked to Maria Vicio, the legislator also. I show it to her. And so if y'all got the video and saw it, you'll know the problem that I have back there in my yard. So I wish they could address that, and that would be, and that would be really helpful in my side. I like to keep my yard clean and nice possible, but right now, it's all exposed back there. If they could take a look, they could see my property from that side. So they should build something there, drainage, so they could throw all that water instead of to Russell Avenue, throw it to the street on Ridge Road. That could be a solution. Do more drainage back there because it's sinking. If you see the property back there on the movie theater, it sinks right straight to my property. It has an inclination that way. So that's basically my concern. I got my neighbor also, I just saw her here, that she probably gonna also testify about the same problem. But if y'all need any videos and proof, I had it all. Again, David Sayas, 198 Russell Avenue.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to address the board?
Good evening. Hope you understand my accent. My name is Maria Buroni, 190 Rossum. I confirm what David said to you. My problem is not as serious as this, but living next to him, I do still have a water coming through the back of the theater and from his backyard. That is one of the problems with the water. The rest, I would like to know if I can have a copy of your proposal.
Please, to the board, address to the board.
If I can have a copy of what is proposed.
Sure, they're accessible at the town hall. I can either make you a copy or email you a copy.
You can, well,
So if you want to come and see me tomorrow,
yeah, I could. Where are you exactly?
on the second floor upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yep, in the building department.
Yeah, I will be there.
Okay. Ask for Michelle.
Okay, yes, Michelle.
Yes.
Thank you. And I would like to understand better the noise of the compact that he's talking about.
Okay.
And what they are going to do inside. Retail, what? The retail, which?
Sure. Michelle can share with you everything that they're proposing. In addition, you might want to watch the last workshop. It gives you a lot of the detail, and maybe we'll ask the applicant when he
Why
comes up.
we were not informed before? Or means I don't know how to get informed, where I should look into.
Michelle, I'll let you handle that one.
So you're here because you got a pink postcard, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's no a courtesy the town does, sends out the postcards to approximately neighbors within 200 feet of the proposed development.
We are 5 feet.
Okay, but if you want to stop in tomorrow morning, I'd be more than happy to go over the plans with you and show you everything.
Why don't we have been notified before?
Before
Different meeting that you had.
This is the public hearing. This is when the public can get to speak. The planning board meets twice a month, once for a workshop meeting and once for a public hearing meeting.
Okay.
Per town law, I'm only supposed to notify the public hearing meeting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a schedule that's on the website as well. I can give you a copy
Thank you.
and show you. If you're familiar with going on to the internet and onto the town's website, I can show you where it is there as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
You answered my question. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address the town?
Good evening. My name's Andrea Gallinger. I live at 182 Russell Avenue. Per reference, that's directly behind the movie theater. I guess I just have general questions regarding exactly what retail spaces are being developed there, how the rear part of the building will be developed, access points. I wonder if there will be surveillance behind the building. I have observed some very concerning nefarious and unlawful activities going on back behind there, beyond graffiti. And so I just am wondering if there will be active surveillance to try to abate that activity that I've observed going on back there. And I guess I would just like to know more about what is going to be put up there, how long the proposed construction will take place. And those are my general questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board?
Behind the theater, 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Would you like to address the comments?
Yes, we can address several of them. Relative to the retail users, I know Michelle has copies of this, but there's 3 out of the 5 spaces have been identified so far. So there's a Burlington, Five Below, and a Kids Empire. So those are the 3 that have been identified. There's 2 smaller retail spaces that have not had leases signed yet, but we anticipate or are hoping, obviously, that they'll be filled in short order. But we anticipate similar uses to what else is in the plaza through there. A couple of the other questions, I'm not sure on the surveillance, so I can't speak to that. Maybe Jeff can a little bit. The construction period, about 15 to 18 months once demolition started. One of the things that we have to do or have prior to getting into construction and demolition is have this board's approval, because that kickstarts a lot of the timeframes in the leases and everything else. So that's what we're hopeful for and requesting the board for tonight. Relative to the stormwater, I'll expand on that a little bit, because I know I've talked about this with this board before, but maybe not directly with the neighbors being able to hear it. But this is a large property that has a lot of pavement and a lot of building on it. And if it was developed these days, I'd have a much longer comment letter from Wes to address relative to stormwater and some of those other things, because the neighbor is absolutely correct that this low point in the back is the low point of the site, and that's the relief point for all that stormwater. We have explored looking at trying to bring some of the stormwater runoff from the site up to Ridge Road or out to Culver Parkway, and it's just not feasible in that water goes downhill. And so if we were developing this plaza today, the building would be pushed up quite a bit further. There'd be a large stormwater pond here to help mitigate or to trap that stormwater. There just isn't the real estate to do that. So what we're doing and what we're proposing here really is a good faith effort to do as much as we can, again, within the confines of the project and the property that we have, in order to help alleviate. In a large stormwater event, I anticipate that there will still be some of those same issues. What we are hoping to alleviate is the frequency of that happening by providing some relief, providing an overflow where before even a small rain event may have caused some of that overflow because of trash or debris blocking an inlet or that kind of thing. So we do feel that this is an approach with several pieces, because we don't think that there is one solution to this that really is financially viable or feasible given the construction on the site. So again, we can't promise that this is going to make it so that there's never water going over this, but we do feel that this is a good solution for what can be done. And I think I've touched on those surveillance. We're going to have some cameras out there. I'm not entirely sure, but Jeff can speak to
Can
that.
I ask you, aren't you adding some islands too and so forth that might help?
Correct, yes. Those will be ancillary, just because they will be curbed islands to protect the lawn, and so the rain that falls on it will stay on it, but in the grand scheme of things, the other two improvements that we're proposing are really the ones that'll have more of a significant effect.
Jeff Sager again. So as the stores open, they will have surveillance in the back, and that activity alone is going to help a lot with that side of the plaza, because right now it's used for the high school kids and buses and other things because it's vacant and there's no activity. Spectrum and Marshalls have cameras in the back as they are now, and I would expect Burlington for sure would have cameras back there, along with probably Five Below.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add, or?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wes, I thought maybe if you could talk, I see you wrote up something on stormwater and so forth, so.
Yep. So we've met with Aaron McGee, DPW Commissioner. We understand the flooding issues that are going on adjacent to this plaza, or the surcharge issues in the stormwater system, the town's stormwater system. So what we do see here from the applicant is a proposed improvement based when compared to existing conditions, right? Because as you've noted, they are decreasing the amount of impervious surface by adding some landscaped islands. That may provide just a little bit of relief. Most of the relief, I think, is going to come from the underground chamber system that's designed to detain and retain some of the stormwater. So, as the applicant said, during these larger rain events, I think the intent here is for the applicant to reduce the frequency with which these surcharge events happen and have this negative water impact to the neighbors. So it's really difficult, however, to, I guess, quantify, exactly, what level of storm is going to result in flooding. I don't think we know that answer. There's the existing system on site with regard to stormwater, the underground stormwater. It's kind of vast on this project parcel, right? And as the applicant described, they can't convey the stormwater drainage to East Ridge Road or Culver because those stormwater systems are higher in elevation underground than where this plaza is. So they don't have the ability to, make the water flow uphill, as he said. So it's going to be an improvement from what's there, and there's nothing that can be required in terms of post-construction stormwater management practices. What they're doing is a very good faith effort to try to alleviate some of what's been going on. And it might take, maybe if this project gets approved and gets constructed, that's going to make the conditions better than what they are today. If this project doesn't get approved and nothing moves forward, no improvements are going to happen, and the town will probably continue to monitor, regardless of what happens with this project, will continue to monitor what's going on in that area, and maybe reevaluate a couple years down the road to see if there's anything in the town's system that they can fix. Or I think the other thing we talked about is cleaning out the system that's on the site.
Yes, and that was flushed and cameraed a few months ago, back when the discussions were starting as to what could we do or what could we incorporate into this system. And there was a couple bricks and stone that were cleaned out, but no blockages, no apparent failures within the system itself. It's just a lot of water.
Yeah, and I think also your conversations with DPW had that the town has done a lot of improvements farther down the system that we all and Russell Street all tie into. And some of those improvements only just got complete. I know there's another stage to those improvements too, on increasing that pipe size that our system ends up going to.
Yeah.
And so hopefully some of those dollars are coming to be able to make those improvements down the line too. Because there's no question, we're getting backed up on the pipe that goes down to Russell.
So that's it from Labello's standpoint in terms of stormwater. We don't have a problem with what they're proposing. It should make conditions better. The other thing that I heard in the public comments was about noise, and I know you articulated a little bit earlier about the noise from trash, and maybe you just want to describe, what was it, like 70 decibels or?
65 to 70 decibels.
65 to 70 decibels, and what's that comparable to? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, so 60 decibels, normal conversation, 70 background traffic when it's not high speed. For example, on 104, that's closer to 75 to 80 decibels. So the ambient noise around the plaza, that's the level of noise that's anticipated or that would be anticipated by the trash compactor. Things that would be louder would be slamming of a door during a delivery, that kind of thing. So normal retail business, this will not be in excess of what's out there today.
And there's currently one at the Marshall's space that has it, and it's normally always set inside of the truck lane. So it's usually the closest one to the building.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We normally don't allow more questions, but I will allow you to ask a question. You have to come to the podium, though.
The noise that you are,
You have to direct it to the board, please. Sorry.
noise that the gentleman is talking about, it is expanded to the front of the building. What is the repercussion on the back of the building?
Okay. Any other question on that before I let them respond? Is that it? Okay, please have a seat.
That was
Yeah,
because, yes.
Yeah, please have a seat and let
I
them
am concerned about the noise on the back of the building where it will reflect on the facade and through my house.
Got it.
Because there is no expansion.
I'll let them speak to it. Okay?
Is it clear?
I'm sorry?
It is clear?
It's clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The trash compactor and the loading dock area is at the rear of the building, consistent with the rest of the plaza building. So that is at the rear of the building, closer to the residential.
How long is that trash compactor going to run for?
It only gets run, if you will, meaning compacting when the bin in the front is full. Hit the button, runs for 45 seconds, and then it waits to fill up again. So it's not going to happen.
Twice a day,
Yeah, it's not
talking
going to
a
happen
minute or
on
two.
a steady basis. That's correct. And only really during the business hours, not at night.
So it's only business hours. It's not going to be overnight or anything like that.
There may be
only
some
business hours.
deliveries right at the end of the day or beginning of the day, but that's about it.
Okay.
But these stores are only open till 10
Yeah.
these days, even 9:30. It's a lot of them.
Thank you.
It's out past 9:30.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I had one other thing. Looking at the stormwater and, we just have the layout and utility plan here. I'm guessing you have a grading plan
Correct.
because it looks like you're redoing some of this pavement in the back.
That's correct, yes.
So I see in this plan there, right in that bad corner, there's an end of the curb. It looks like there's a little space in between the two existing curbs. It's the furthest point to the south, kind of around the radius from where you're putting the structure.
That is continuous there. That curb, that higher curb is continuous through there.
It comes down facing those properties, but then it looks like there's a little bit of a break. And if you look at like Google Earth even, it's got a, street view, it's got a gap in that curb.
I believe,
that's just letting.
believe that's been updated or fixed since.
Oh, yeah, I think that's been changed since Google.
Yeah, since Google went through.
Went
I see it here and there's a space. That's where, water's gonna go there.
Yeah, I believe that has been repaired, and if it hasn't, we will make sure that it is. But we did our survey back last summer in June or something like that, prior to a lot of the exploration on the storm sewer and discussions with DPW. I believe that's been fixed since then, but if not, it definitely will be as part of this project.
It would be a pretty easy fix if
Absolutely.
you're ripping out that pavement and everything anyway. Just build a little bit more curb, keep that off the.
We also plan on building that structure this summer. for the additional.
The overflow
The
structure.
overflow structure right away, that we can build it this, hopefully even before the summer starts, that we can do it so that part's done, even though all the rest of that exterior work won't be until later. As we start, demo is at least 6 months.
Yeah.
The electrical gear is a year, and so we won't finish these spaces up until over a year from now.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just have a question for staff. If the folks here want to find out the next phasing on the stormwater management, they can contact somebody in the town?
Yeah, I would imagine Aaron McGee would probably be the best contact.
Great, I appreciate that. And you guys heard that, right?
So it's Department of Public Works is what, right? Okay. Any other questions? Applicant have anything else to say?
No, appreciate the board's patience and working with us. We're excited about this project. We are hoping to walk out of here with an approval tonight, just to allow a lot of those triggers to get started for this project, but let me know if you have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Nothing else from the staff? With that, I'm going to make a motion for PB 2024-03-03 in regards to seeker. This is a type 2. We don't need to take a vote, right?
You don't need a motion for a type 2.
Declare it's type 2, right?
Correct.
Okay. Regarding that, regarding case number PB 2024-03-03, request by Marathon Engineering, acting as the agent for Arundequoit TK Owner LLC for preliminary and site plan approval for development of the existing Regal Movie Theater and traffic improvements on premises 2255 East Ridge Road in the C Business District.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, did you just say just preliminary? It's supposed to be preliminary and final.
I thought I said preliminary and final.
Oh, I didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Okay. Whereas Arundequoit TK Owner LLC, the applicant submitted an application for site plan review on or about February 13th, 2024 to the Town of Arundequoit Planning Board. The Planning Board related to the Regal Theater redevelopment of Culver Road facility located at 2255 East Ridge Road, tax parcel 077-18-4-25.1, the property located in the C Business Zoning District, and whereas the applicant intends to renovate the existing Regal movie theater space into 5 retail spaces, and renovations will also be made to the existing parking lot to improve traffic circulations and stormwater management, where project elements are more further detailed in the applicant's submission documents, including but not limited to the February 13th, 2024 site plan drawings prepared by Marathon Engineering, the project, and whereas the Planning Board has considered the scope of the project in relation to the list of Type 1 and Type 2 actions within the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Board hereby classifies the project as a Type 2 action pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality. And I didn't need to read all of this, did I?
That's okay. You can keep going and just say, also, if you have any other findings, and then you can kind of supplement it with an approval.
Yep. So, environmental conservation law and regulations promulgated thereto to 6 New York CRR Part 617, collectively referred to as seeker, as indicated in section 617.5, paragraph C, 2, 3, and 18 of the seeker regulations. Moreover, classification as a type 2 action concludes the seeker process and making a motion to approve preliminary and final site plan. Is there anything anybody would like to add as a condition? Do I have a second? All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? There's none. It carries. Best of luck with this project. Looking forward to the improvements. Thank you. I don't see any other actions before the board tonight. I'd like to move that we adjourn. All those in favor? Meeting's adjourned.
Hey, just